I was having a conversation with some of my colleagues about relationships, and I ended up blurting out, "That's why I'd rather be alone." But the thing is that as soon as I said it, I got this weird burning sensation in my chest. It's a feeling I get every time I say something that isn't true or something that is no longer true to my reality. I've always been a lone wolf, and I've never understood the fascination behind phrases like date yourself first or learn to go places yourself, because that is exactly what I've always done. I've always eaten alone, gone to the movies alone, danced alone, traveled alone, moved to multiple cities alone. I feel very alive, present, and complete when I'm by myself. But there's this question that has been swirling in my head for a while now. If there was a reality where I could be surrounded by only people who love and accept me for who I am, people whom I don't have to hide parts of myself or be less intense around, and whom I don't constantly need to recover from, would I choose that over always being by myself? Growing up, I never saw any healthy romantic relationships around me. And no, I'm not talking of perfect relationships, because those don't exist. I'm talking about relationships where people love and accept their partners for who they are, without any secret desires or manipulative tactics to change or upgrade them, all while being fully committed to nurturing each other's spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional growth. The dysfunction that constantly surrounded me during my childhood made me extremely allergic to chaos, drama, and untruth, but it hasn't put me off love. In fact, it deepened my desire for love, for respect, and community in its truest forms. I've observed that a lot of the things we consider love, or a lot of the things we call love, are just manifestations of unaddressed pain and desperate loneliness. So I love love, and I want to be in love. I have so much love to give that sometimes I don't know what to do with myself. It's hard though, because I can't do surface level interactions. I don't do surface level interactions. I'm not wired that way. I give everything 110%. And that is very attractive to all kinds of people, including those who don't wish you well. So I have no choice but to be deeply protective of my energy. It matters who I let into my space, into my heart, into my body. It matters who has access to my mind, to my dreams. I only allow safe, healthy, and affirming love into my life. If it's not warm, gentle, and steady, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's just that I've worked so hard on myself in isolation, striving to love myself, to honor myself. And I'm so excited to share that with someone else. I want to explore life with someone else, because there's only so much healing and growth you can do in isolation. The act of loving someone else leads you directly into triggerland. And being able to successfully navigate that can result in some of the most fulfilling connections of your life. Am I terrified? Of course I am. The reality of continuously choosing someone day in and day out, that is terrifying. But I believe I'm up to the task. Of course I'm up to the task. We live in a world that punishes people for being human in ways that challenge the status quo. I'm a very intense and sensitive person. I see everything, I feel everything, I smell everything. I only know the meaning of silence in theory. I've never experienced it personally. My mind has a life of its own, and sometimes it feels like it's running ahead and leaving me behind, and that can be really exhausting. I terrified my mother as a baby. She said I was so gentle and so attuned that even her breathing the wrong way could set me off. I remember watching the world burn as a kid. I think I was 6 when it started. I had the same dream for weeks on end. I would just watch the world and everything in it engulf in flames night after night. By the age of 9, I was terrified of death, of nothingness. I wanted to know the meaning of life. I wanted to know why I was sent here. I wasn't a very fun kid, if you can't tell. I read like a maniac. The dictionary was one of my favorite books. I couldn't even correctly pronounce some of the words I picked up. I just liked how they felt in my body, and I added them to my vocabulary. I seemed smart, so I got along better with the adults, and my peers found me insufferable. They hated my guts. When people dislike your core identity, there are two things you can do to appease them. The first one is to chip away and hide the parts of you that they find undesirable. The second option is to disappear entirely. From my own experience, I've come to realize that there is not much difference between the two. When I hide my essence to gain acceptance, I cease to exist in that moment. What I present to others is merely a projection of myself. The challenge with playing a role is that it requires a significant amount of energy and effort to create, refine, perform, and sustain the story. I found that I don't have enough energy to both love myself and live a lie. I don't want to disappear, so I've been choosing to walk away whole. In my experience, that goes hand in hand with solitude. It took me loads of trial and error to fully grasp this, but I'd rather be alone than be with people who make me feel like there's something wrong with my being. It makes you feel worthless when you have to apologize for existing. And I felt that so much in my life that when I decided I was done, I was done. You know, at some point in my childhood, I started running everywhere because I was so scared that if I walked, people would get the chance to take a good look at me and see how stupid and vulnerable and clumsy and worthless I was. That's how much the bullying and the ostracization had gotten to me, that I genuinely believed that there was some sort of marking on me that made me a target. So I thought, if I run, maybe I'll be so fast that they wouldn't notice. It's crazy now that I think about it. It was an incredibly painful time for me. I left home at 17 and I've moved around a lot since then, so the few people who feel like home to me are often cities, countries, or continents away. My deepest relationships are all long distance. Like I haven't seen my best friend and my siblings in years. And yes, I've met some amazing people over the years, people whom I have genuine love for. But keeping and maintaining those connections, that's a whole other story, completely different story. While I can easily connect with most people, building deep and meaningful relationships, meaningful friendships without shared interests is really difficult for me. You know how a lot of people start shallow and then go deeper? It's the opposite for me. I can only have prolonged, mindless conversations with people who aren't afraid to dive deep with me. I know not all relationships are supposed to be deep and yada yada. It's just that I think that life is too short, you know. Life is too short to only talk about the weather, complain about work, gossip, or get mindlessly drunk and hide together. There are just too many searching, lonely, and heavy hearts, heavy souls out there. And kindness is free and we are wired for connection. We need more safe spaces where we can explore each other's hearts, even if we don't know each other that well. Fuck, what do you do for a living? Fuck, how are you today? Fuck, I don't know. Fuck, what's your favorite fucking color? I would love to hear about your dreams. What makes you sad? What gives you hope? When was the last time you cried and why? I want to know what makes you tick. And then let's go kiki, twerk and dance, I don't know, till dawn after that. I don't know. I understand that some people may feel uncomfortable with these types of conversations. Fair enough. Especially when you're like trying to unwind and just trying to get over the troubles of life. You don't want to have conversations like this. It can feel very exposing. And you might worry that the person asking these questions might use it against you. If that's the case, I respect your boundaries. I've also decided that I won't stop asking these questions because they make a lot of people feel seen. They make them feel safe and human. I think it's worth the discomfort, you know. There are worse things than having people think I'm unhinged. Maybe I am unhinged. Who knows?